Menopause and exercise, sometimes it's completely misunderstood because after all, a generation ago, lots of women weren't actually exercising when they got to this stage in life. So I'm going to be covering fact versus fiction and what you should be doing and what to avoid at the time of menopause. Hello fam and welcome to my channel. My name's Melissa Neal and this channel is all about helping you if you're a woman over 40 like me over 50, and I'm 57 and I'm postmenopausal. So just like you guys that are watching this, I have been through menopause, so I know what I'm talking about from a personal perspective, but I've also seen more than 10,000 women through my paid for programs, and I'm going to talk about a free program that's available to you. And also I've coached personally hundreds of women. It's based on that enormous amount of data that I've gathered with my own body and working with lots of women in this age category. And one of the things that really frustrates me is there's a lot of noise out there. There's a lot of people jumping on the bandwagon, and there's a lot of misinformation, which can actually be quite frightening and prevent us from exercising and reaching our full potential. So I'm going to be breaking down in this video what you should be avoiding, some of the myths around exercise and menopause, what you can do, and how you should be approaching exercise to get the maximum results, the maximum bang for your buck. So the first thing I'll admit, if your goal is fat burning, you cannot do what you did in your younger days and expect to see results. I'm not talking about whether you enjoy it or not. I'm not talking about whether it's good for your VO2 max, in other words, your cardio health. There's some exercises that are just not going to lead to fat loss in the way that you want it and the way that it worked in your younger days. So the first one is tons of cardio, and I do talk about this a great deal, but tons of things like running. It's just not going to do you any favours when it comes to fat loss. I'm not talking about whether you enjoy it. I'm not talking about whether it's good for you. And some people would argue that tons of long distance running, and what I mean is by running over 30 minutes per session, it's actually not going to serve you anymore when you get to this stage in life, because you're going to lose muscle mass. And what you want to be doing is, the main form of exercise is focusing on building muscle, not focusing on losing muscle, which is what tons of cardio, tons of intense cardio is going to do. I'm not talking about walking, I'm talking about running and more of your intense cardio. Those are things you want to avoid. The next things that you want to avoid are things like CrossFit and Orange Theory and sort of things like body pump. And lots of people say to me, well, Melissa, you're lifting weights while you're doing that. But those kind of workouts, they're actually geared up for young people, and they don't actually help you when it comes to being over 40 and fat loss, which I know will be really disappointing for people that do Orange Theory. But I've actually had lots of coaching clients come to me who've done Orange Theory and things like CrossFit in the past, and I've actually taken them off that. And now let's just hear from someone like that, just to prove it. Her name is Karen Eckhard, and she came to me as a coaching client, and this is what she had to say.
I was very frustrated, even though I'm a knowledgeable person in the gym. I do have experience with working out, having done sports my whole life. I still wasn't able to train myself to get results. I was, again, relying a lot on cardio. I used to be part of a triathlon group because I joined to try to lose weight. Oh, and then I went to CrossFit. I went back to CrossFit, which I didn't, although I got strong, I didn't get any results. I need someone to help me. I need someone to just push me over the edge to bring it all together for me. And I think I mentioned that to you in the our very first session, that I needed someone to help me. I love working with coaches and I just being able to leave you a message. I know it's something really, really simple, but like leaving you a message like on Fridays, like when I finished my workout, and also to have your support in adjusting my workout to help me achieve my goals, but also at the same time keeping me realistic about what I'm able to do with the time that I have. I didn't have to go to bed hungry, which is really, really hard. I was still able to lose weight without starving myself, basically, and that getting me on the right macros really helped keep me satiated all day. It was interesting to receive a couple weeks ago, you had sent me the side by side. I was like shocked. I was actually showing people like, oh my God, because it was really, the difference was really huge. I mean, even the fact that I hadn't actually lost a ton of weight, my body composition had completely shifted. I don't have like my belly hanging over my pants. I don't have my bra digging into me. Yeah, I'm still totally shocked. I still look at it sometimes like, oh my God. One of the things that, just to other women are listening to me, it just was really consistency. I didn't miss any. I mean, other than, as you know, I had to travel a bit, and also, when the gyms closed for holidays, but I didn't miss any training. I always got up and did it. No matter how tired I was, I would still get up and do it. I've paid all this money and I'm not going to be able to do it because I haven't trained. So also it helped while I was traveling because you gave me some ideas about how to not go off the rails while you're traveling. And it really helped me just stay focused while I was traveling to think about what I was ordering so that I wasn't going so off program. So I wasn't stuffing my face.
So you can see there, once Karen came off CrossFit, stopped doing triathlons, all the other kind of sports she was doing, and she's actually focusing on lifting weights, which I'm going to talk about a bit later, and high intensity interval training in small amounts. She got much better results. Side note, she did also need to support that with good nutrition, which she talked about. Now I'm going to talk about some of the myths when it comes to menopausal women and exercise, because some of these, they actually make me a little bit angry, because I feel like they're actually preventing women reaching their full potential because they're actually fearing things, some of these rumours that are spread. So the first myth is you can't work out as hard as a young person. Now, the intensity of your workouts can be just as good as any young person. And I personally can probably do a lot of exercises, things like box jumps, things like sled pushes. I can do them to the extent and sometimes better than a young person, and my age is not holding me back. It's nothing to do with your age and whether you're going through the menopause. It's actually to do with your personal fitness level. So age should not be a barrier, whether you're in your 50s, 60s, 70s or 80s. Age is not a barrier. Your performance can be just as good as a young person, because we're not talking about elite athletes here. We're talking about just regular people. Another massive myth is you can't do high intensity interval training because it raises your cortisol levels. In actual fact, the North American Menopause Society carried out a study in 2019 on postmenopausal women, and they found that high intensity interval training, not only was it much more effective than steady state cardio, but they found it to be completely safe. And yes, you are going to get raised cortisol levels, but that is not a huge problem if that's being done through something like high intensity interval training. When it becomes a problem is if you've got raised cortisol levels all throughout the day, because cortisol is your fight or flight hormone. So it's what we needed thousands of years ago to protect ourselves from predators. And of course, we don't have predators. What we have is we have daily life, which has overstimulation. So we're looking at computers, we're looking at a lot of stuff online, and we're finding we can have raised cortisol levels because of our stress levels. All those kinds of things are problematic, but 20 minutes of high intensity interval training isn't bad for your health. So please go ahead and do that. I've been doing it for years and it's certainly worked wonders for me. The third big myth is you can spot reduced fat. Now, this isn't specific to women over 40 or going through menopause, but obviously we do have concerns about belly fat, maybe about arm fat, maybe about back fat, pockets of fat in particular areas. And you can't do a specific exercise, so say it's sit-ups for your stomach, or it's tricep exercises for working your arms. You will not get rid of fat with that. How you get rid of fat is having an overall strategy for reducing fat on your body, which will include exercise, it will include lifestyle, and it will include nutrition. So just remember that when you're watching those videos online that says, I got a six-pack because I'm doing all these sit-ups or all these ab exercises. Actually, usually they've got a six-pack because they've got good genetics and they've been getting really lean through diet. So those are the myths. What is actually different now? What do you need to do differently when you get to menopause, perimenopause, or postmenopause? You need more recovery time. So you can't work out every single day. You need time to recover. Now, I've just done a leg session today. I'm not going to train legs for at least another 4 or 5 days to give my legs a chance to recover. I will train other parts of my body. I also build in, currently I'm doing 2 complete rest days a week where I do something called active rest. So that's walking. Other things that include active rest would be things like yoga. You may pick up more injuries than you did in your younger days, and it's going to take longer to recover from those injuries. And we're going to discuss later on in this video what you can do to prevent that. You may also find that if you get sick, you take longer to recover. But if you're constantly getting sick, that's actually a warning sign that maybe you're overtraining, or you've got something like adrenal fatigue, or your immune system's low. So you do need to look at that, and we'll talk about later on in this video what you can do if you get sick. You may also find you suffer from general fatigue. This was massive for me. It's a real problem for women when they get to the kind of perimenopausal stage, just when their periods are stopping. It certainly was for me. I was extremely tired, and my doctor actually ran a lot of tests, and I had a full blood panel done to see where my hormones were. And of course, because of this stage in life, my hormones were depleting, but everything else was perfectly normal. So it's a normal thing for women at that time of menopause to be suffering from extreme fatigue. So don't be surprised if that's happening to you. So I'm going to talk about the exercise that's really great for menopausal women. We've got 3 things that I want you to focus on. We want to be lifting weights because we want to be building muscle, because building muscle is going to help your body burn more calories just at rest. So it's not about the exercise that you're doing while you're lifting the weights. It's what it does to your body 24 hours a day that's really important. And what it does to your body is it helps your body burn more calories, as I've said. So what that does is it boosts your metabolism. So your metabolism, as you age, it takes a nosedive because you've been losing muscle mass at just under 1% per year. So if you lift weights, you're going to find that you improve your metabolism, and it's one of the few ways that you can actually improve your metabolism. The other thing, and this is optional, that I talked about earlier on, is high intensity interval training. Now, if you're not particularly fit when you're watching this, you might not want to just jump straight into high intensity interval training, because it might not be right for you, but it's something that you can work towards. And I always advise women that I coach to start off with small amounts. If they're really new to it, it might be like 10 minutes of high intensity interval training. Then build it up by increasing 5 minutes every 3 to 4 weeks until you reach something like 20 minutes of high intensity interval training. Personally, currently I'm doing 45 minutes per week of high intensity interval training. So it's not very much at all. Most of my time is spent on lifting weights. But as I said, HIIT is optional. But what I want you to do is I want you to be walking. A good amount would be like 7,000 steps per day. If you're nowhere near that, try getting a wearable and monitoring your steps. And it's like, if you're doing 2,000 at the moment, increase it by 1,000 and add on 1,000 each week until you get to 7,000 steps. And if you're currently doing 7,000 steps and you're looking for fat burning, just increase the steps, as I said, by 1,000 each week until you've hit something like 12 or 15,000. Some people even do 20,000. I've done 20,000 in the past. And you can do that by walking outside, which is fantastic if you can do that. Or you can kind of buy something like an under-desk treadmill for home, a walking pad. So have a look at that, because that's going to make a massive difference. And it's going to be retaining your muscle mass. So not like doing those hours and hours of intense cardio like running. That kind of walking is great for retaining your muscle mass. I'm going to talk about some of the techniques when it comes to strength training, some of the things that you've got in your armory that are going to really help you get success with this. Because I know sometimes I get comments on my videos with people saying, I'm doing strength training, but it's not working. And there's a number of things you need to look at, as well as what I'm going to talk about, like nutrition is absolutely key, but also it's actually doing strength training correctly. So when you do strength training, you want to be focusing on your form. So I like to talk about like bros sometimes in the gym. They'll take the heaviest weight because they want to look good in front of their buddies, and they'll sort of swing it around and their form is going to be really bad. So I'll just show you with a bicep curl, and they'll end up not really, they'll be lifting the weight, but they won't be working the right muscles. And so what you tend to see them do is they'll grab a weight that's far too heavy and they're doing this. And all that's doing is swinging it around and using momentum, and it's actually not working the muscle. So you want to always sort of think in your head, I need to work the muscle, not lift the weight, if that makes sense. So instead, if we're doing a bicep curl, we want to have slow, controlled movements, and that's going to give you the maximum bang for your buck. So you need to be counting for at least 1 second. Then what we need to be doing when we've got the form right is we want to be focusing on increasing the intensity in some way. So sometimes that's simply taking a heavier weight. Other times it could be adding an extra rep in. So that's a rep, 1 bicep curl. Or it could be adding extra sets in. So a lot of my workouts tend to be 5 sets. And some of my workouts in my app actually 10 sets. So that's another way of getting more intensity. The other thing that I absolutely love is slowing the movement down, especially for people that work out at home, because you may not have like a really good range of equipment. So if I was adding that into a bicep curl and I thought, well, I haven't got any heavier weights, if I slow the movement down, particularly on the end part of the movement there, going down, I'm going to find I really get, so counting for 2 or 3 seconds down, it's going to be much tougher. So those are some ways you increase the intensity and actually get the most out of your workout. Another thing people often ask me was how heavy I should be going, and there isn't a one size fits all. Going back to form, technique, you want to be going as heavy as you possibly can with great technique, not losing your form. That's simply what you need to do. But everyone's going to have their strengths and weaknesses, so there's sort of, you can look longingly at this other woman in the gym and you're thinking, well, she's doing 200-pound squats. That might not be suitable for you because you might not be as strong, you might not be as experienced, you may weigh a different weight from her. So never look at what other people's lifting. It's about pushing yourself to the maximum of your own capability, not someone else's capability. I'm going to talk a little bit about changing workouts. A lot of women get obsessed about constantly changing your workouts, and that is not the right approach. So it doesn't matter what your age, this approach is absolutely the same. So what you want to be doing is getting really good at your key lifts and practicing them over and over again. I don't particularly switch my workouts around. I might just use a different piece of equipment for the same movement. So if I'm doing a squat, it could be, sometimes I'll use a barbell, other times I'll use a hack squat machine, or I might use a dumbbell. So you can do the same movement pattern using different equipment, but you don't necessarily want to keep switching things up all the time, because what that means is you're not going to build up strength and get better at that lift. So you want to focus on your core lifts. So that's like your squats, your deadlifts, your push movements, your pull movements, carry movements like walking lunges, or like carrying a heavy object, like doing a farmer's walk. You want to focus on those, and you want to get better and better at them. You don't routinely want to keep on switching it up, so your body doesn't know what's going on. You're going to have trouble actually building strength in that lift. Therefore, you're going to struggle to see visible improvement. And all the gurus that know anything about lifting weights, they will tell you exactly what I'm telling you. Now, it may not sound fun because that's what some women struggle with. So they're like, I need a change because I'm bored. Let me tell you, if you get a workout log and you start logging your progression, how heavy you are lifting each time you go in, and you're seeing improvement, I can promise you that is not boring. It's really exciting. The thing to pay attention to when you get older is listening to your body, because that has actually changed, and we kind of touched on that. Some exercises might not serve you anymore. So maybe you've got a bad back and deadlifting is really troublesome for you. Maybe you've got something like arthritis, so some lifts or like gripping is really difficult for you. Maybe you need to use resistance bands, for example. Maybe you've got bad knees, so lunging doesn't serve you anymore. Maybe you're tall, so if you're really tall, I had a client that was over 6 foot and female, and we got her off doing any kind of squats with a barbell and using machines instead, because some exercises just don't serve you when you've got like a high stature. If you can, use modifications for certain exercises rather than doing the exercise itself, or you might need to miss it out altogether. So for example, women with bad knees can find that lunging is just really out for them. So they might do something like glute kickbacks, or if they can manage it, supported lunges using a band to support themselves as they're going down in the lunge. But certainly glute kickbacks if lunging is out of the question. And normally, with my clients, I provide all sorts of modifications for people. If it isn't in the program, then we provide it, because we don't want people to be doing exercises that are going to put them in even more pain and make their niggle or their injury worse. If you feel pain and things feel off during the exercise, stop doing that exercise. And if you're sick, don't work out. If you're running a fever, if you feel like you've got like flu symptoms, that kind of thing, you don't want to be going in the gym or like your gym equipment at home and trying to work out through it. It's not worth it. It's better to just spend the time recovering. And if you're getting sick all the time, it could be that your immune system is low or you're just overtraining. So take a look at that. If you want to put everything I've talked about into action and also get a guide on nutrition and some sample meal plans, I have a 7-day program all inside my unique app for women over 40, which really supports menopause. So it's actually got the workouts included, it's actually got meal plans included, and you can follow that for 7 days or even longer if you want to. It's yours free for life. You will never be charged. You don't have to give your payment details, and there are no hidden surprises. So I will put the link in the description. Do sign up for that, and do let me know in the comments section whether you found this video helpful on how to exercise during this really challenging time.